Hello, everyone. Welcome to the annual Inside the Birds NFL First Round Mock Draft. Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. And every year we do this, we are joined by Inside the Birds Eagles beat reporter Andrew DiCecco. And guys, this is one of our most popular, if not the most popular episodes of the year. It is our first round mock draft. We go through all 32 picks, all teams, give our intel, what we know about them from a schematic standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, and what we expect them to do on Thursday night in the NFL draft. Now, whether that happens, hey, anybody's guess. Even the best at this don't get 100%, obviously. So we'll do our best from what we know. And no matter what, it's always a fun adventure. Just talking football, talking scheme, talking personnel, and then seeing if the teams follow suit. So obviously, the first team up is the Tennessee Titans. Adam, we'll go to you on what the Titans need. You can just probably summarize that in one word, which is everything.
Yeah.
But they obviously need a lot.
Yeah, it starts a quarterback for them. We have to remember that a different front office drafted Will Levis, who will enter the third year of his 4-year rookie deal. So they're going to move on from him, certainly. They want to go to CamWard. I know they've denied that they're shopping him. That's fine. But bottom line is they need to figure out the quarterback position because, quite frankly, they've really addressed their offensive line from Dan Moore, who's going to be their new left tackle, Skronsky, Cushenberry, who unfortunately got hurt last year at center, Kevin Zeitler they brought in, and Latham now is going to be moved from left tackle to right tackle. He was overmatched at left tackle. They actually, I'm told, they wanted Joe Alt last year. That was going to happen had the Chargers not drafted him. So this actually, Geoff, as I send it back to you, could actually be a decent offensive line. And then they also need receivers. They got one guy, Calvin Ridley. Other than that, they're bad. Corner, they cut Chidobe Awuzie. L'Jarius Sneed was hurt last season. The edge rush help, massive edge rush help, safety, inside backer, and right guard. But, Geoff, again, it starts at the quarterback with this new front office.
Yeah, and Andrew, I'll have you make the pick. But first, I'll ask you this. You're Mike Borgonzi. You've just come over from the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. You've been a GM in the waiting for quite a while, right? Is there any offer someone could make to you that's realistic? Someone saying first round pick, right? Like, you need a quarterback, and this is how you're starting off. Anybody who calls up, are you accepting any offer that's within reasonable offer, or are you just taking a quarterback here?
I'm not even giving it a second thought, Geoff. I'm just taking the quarterback. You know what I mean? They need so many different things. You have a chance. You're in a position to take the best quarterback in this class, and that's going to be CamWard. 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year. Really good story. Transferred to Miami from Incarnate World. That's going to be a good player for their offense, and I think that they need to start to build around them.
Absolutely. All right. So that was pretty easy. Number one, I think we're going to be right with this, guys. So we can guarantee ourselves one correct. Tennessee Titans take CamWard, quarterback out of Miami. That brings us to the Cleveland Browns at number 2. Adam, you'll make the pick. What do the Browns need?
Another team, boy, it is amazing. The first 3 teams need a quarterback, and oh boy, they're picking 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, it's quarterback. It's left tackle. Jedrick Wills, he's a free agent. They're the former first-round pick. Nick Chubb's up, running back, receiver. They're light. Safety, D tackle, and corner for the future. They could get away with what they have for this season, but they've got some contract issues after the season. But it's all about quarterback. Deshaun Watson, arguably one of the worst transactions in NFL history in terms of trade, just terrible. They've got nothing out of it. They really screwed up also when they did not bring back Joe Flacco last year. That was a terrible mistake considering how well he did 2 years ago. Now they brought him back. We can debate why they didn't, but that was a mistake. But they brought him back. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, it comes down to quarterback. But here's the problem. With Ward going at 1, there's not a quarterback you would take there. You take the best player available, who's the best player, by the way, for this draft. And I have to tell you, I was at the Combine when Andrew Berry, the general manager, is typically tight-lipped, by the way. He doesn't like giving out a lot of information publicly. When he was asked about where do you guys see him playing, we're talking about Travis Hunter here, did say we see him more as a receiver than a corner, and I just almost passed out. I was like, did he just say that? Gave that out? I was shocked. And he did it again with their local media. So, guys, it's going to be Travis Hunter here, who's the best player in this draft. I don't think it's even close. It's interesting talking to position coaches, how they see him. Cornerback, he's phenomenally talented. There's some technique issues. Receiver, I talked to a receivers coach on Sunday who just was blown away by this guy as a receiver. Stop and start ability, run after the catch, explosion. Intelligence. look, you could make the case for him to be a receiver. I know more teams have him as a corner than a receiver, but the Browns, that send us back to you, Geoff, are going to do this, and they're going to take him, Travis Hunter, out of Colorado. They say as a receiver. We'll see if they stick with it, but as a receiver.
Andrew, I'm curious. You're Andrew Berry. I'm going to play this game with you a lot. You are Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns. You completely misfired on the whole Deshaun Watson thing. You know you need a quarterback. You, like Adam said, you don't want to take one here just to take one. Where are you going to play Travis Hunter? Probably
wide receiver to start, I would say. But the prospects of pairing him opposite Denzel Ward are very enticing. I've scouted him as a corner, but they do need some help on offense as well. So if you ask Travis, he wants to play both. He wants to be a two-way player. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I think they'll probably start him at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see how it works out. We know that, Jim Schwartz is kind of like a veteran guy. If you're telling him, sorry, I got to take this amazing athlete away from you for 20% of practice to have him go, run some routes the offense. But you know what? If he's that good and he helps the team win, I'm sure Jim will be fine with it. So Travis Hunter goes number 2 out of Colorado, cornerback / wide receiver to the Browns. And let's be honest, I think we're all pretty excited to see this new sort of face of the NFL or what he does, this unicorn-like ability, and to see if he can truly be the first guy that I can remember to play like significantly on both sides of the ball, not just moonlight on one side or the other. That brings us to the Giants at number 3. What do they need, Adam, besides, a whole lot of things?
Yeah, now again, the draft's about the future. They don't have a future quarterback. Winston and Russell Wilson will start this season. They're both on 1-year deals. They've got Tommy DeVito, who won't go away. He's been a nice story. Really should be a 4th-string quarterback, but hey, he's on the roster for now. What else do they need? See, they have to make a decision. Is Jermaine Illuminor going to play right tackle? Fine, keep him there. Don't keep moving him to guard. Then if that's the case, then they're going to need a right guard. So they'll need a right guard, quarterback, cornerback. Now, see, a corner is interesting because when you look at it, they got brought in Paulson Adebo, is a good player. Phillips is their nickel. He's an inside player. And Deonte Banks. Banks has not played quite the level they're hopeful. And Cordell Flott is really he's a backup. And quite frankly, he should be a nickel. So they're not deep enough there. I know they're not going to give up on Banks. It's only his 3rd year of his 4-year rookie deal plus a 5th-year option. I think you got to look at corner still if you're the Giants. And running back, now here's the question. Is Tyrone Tracy, see, this is what it comes down to. Is Tyrone Tracy, their starter. He was a great story out of Purdue. Really did a good job. Devin Singletary, as they learned, they should have known this. He's not explosive at all. He's a good second back. Now, if they're satisfied with that tandem, they don't have to do anything. If not, they need an upgrade. So what's interesting, I'm not listing a lot of needs here. Obviously, getting a future quarterback is paramount, but you're not going to do that number 3, most likely, but it's not my pick to make. They don't have a ton of needs. They just have been so bad so dreadful at quarterback. They've had offensive line problems. Andrew Thomas can't stay healthy. He's a stud, but can't stay healthy. They're good at receiver for the most part for the future. They got 2 edge rushers, though they could certainly use another one. And Thibodeau's got his 5th-year option due after the draft, which is interesting. This is not a bad roster, guys. It's really not.
Yeah, no, it's not. And we've talked about them being a quarterback away or one more playmaker, either on offense or defense, away from really being formidable. They need a quarterback. But here's the thing. If you're picking in the top 5, you either take a quarterback because you need one, or you don't like that guy enough and you just take a stud. And I can't imagine that the Giants signed both Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston to then go ahead and take Shedeur Sanders right there at number 3 overall. I feel like they did that because they want the stud, and they're going to take the stud, and that's Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State. I think in some form or fashion, the Giants are still going to get a quarterback, and it could be Shedeur in this draft somehow, but not at number 3. And I will have them Abdul Carter. If anybody has objections, let me know now.
No, the Giants can't mess that one up. Take the best player on the board. That's Abdul Carter.
Famous last words, DiCecco.
That's the safest pick right there at 3.
Yep. Now, Thibodeau's 5th-year option is due after the draft. If they do get Carter, which seems like the smart money, and Chauncey Golston is not a bad backup at all. He'll be their top backup edge rusher. But if they draft Carter, I can't see any way they're going to pick up Thibodeau's 5th-year option. Because listen, if Abdul Carter's foot, the stress reaction, if he's okay, I mean, he's a third pick overall. He's got to start opposite Burns. But if he's ready physically to go, you start him.
Yeah, and listen, if you can four-man rush your way to some wins while your offense struggles because you have Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, that could be hey, listen, teams have done
pretty
that.
Good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Really good. Yeah.
You just can't pass on that kind of guy. So those are the first three picks so far. CamWard to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to the Browns, and Abdul Carter to the New York Giants. Reminder, our Patreon Ask Greg Cosell show still going on Tuesday at 6:30 for our great Tier 3 Patreon members. We'll have an Ask ITB session Wednesday night, 8 o'clock for our great Patreon members as well. Go to patreon.com/InsideTheBirds to show up. Greg has been dropping so much knowledge on these Ask Greg Cosells because he's been getting great questions from our fantastic Patreon crowd as well. And then we also, the last few Inside the Tape with Greg Cosells that are previewing the final positions in the draft, which is interior offensive line and offensive tackle, will be out in the next few days as we get closer to Thursday night's first round of the NFL draft. All right, so now we move on to the fourth overall pick, the New England Patriots. Andrew, you're going to make the pick, and you're putting your, Elliott Wolf hat on, and Mike Vrabel is going to have a lot of power. And you're like, damn, the two best actual players in the draft, Hunter and Carter, are gone. Don't really need a quarterback here because we drafted Drake May. So now you got to make some decisions. And Adam, let's talk about what the Patriots need before Andrew makes the pick.
Yeah, they need a left tackle. They need receivers. They just need talent there.
Wait, they're not trading for AJ Brown? I thought they were getting AJ Brown. Right. England, they're getting AJ Brown.
Yeah, exactly. For the second, they actually tried, last year, but
right.
Do they need an edge rusher? They're okay right now. They for the future, yes, because Chasen, who will be one of their top backup edges, he's on a 1-year deal. Harold Landry's had an injury history. I know he's got 2 years fully guaranteed, so he'll be there for a bit. Keon White, they haven't extended his contract. He's pretty good. They can after this season. It's not a major need. They could get away with it, but for the future, they could use one. And then corner. Gonzalez. They're okay with Gonzalez and Davis, no question about it. But they need some depth. It's another situation where I know some people want them to draft a running back. Ramondre Stevenson's a nice back. He's not as good as some of the guys in the draft, but he's a nice back. They could use another one, sure. But I'll be interested to see where Andrew goes here. I don't think this is an easy call.
Well, I mean, Andrew, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, it's not easy.
They add Milton Williams in free agency. They add Harold Landry in free agency. They add Carlton Davis. They do a lot to address the defense, right, in free agency. They bring in Stephon Diggs, which is interesting enough. Really kind of a 1-year deal, although it looked gaudier than that. But obviously with Mike Vrabel, you got to think that like the trenches here are being addressed, and they did it defensively. Will they do it offensively?
Well, they need a left tackle, but I don't know how they're going to view Will Campbell with the short arms and everything like that. I'm going to have him taking Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State. Ramondre, like you said, Adam, he's a nice player, but he isn't. If you have a chance to add the best player at that position in the draft, one of the best players in the draft, I think you have to do it.
So this is the big one.
Here's the thing: he's the best player on the board. He's the best player on the board.
I love it. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And why not take the best player and help your quarterback out in the same and your offense out?
Yeah.
And listen. If they do this, Andrew, it is a validation of what a lot of teams say but don't follow, which is you take the best player, right?
Exactly. This will be a testament. This will be a test and see what they do. But without a doubt, this is the best player on the board, and that's going to make their team better and also help their young quarterback.
I also think it's too rich for Ted McMillan. I know he's going to go the upper half of the first round. This might be seen as a little bit early. And Andrew's right I talked to 2 offensive line coaches on Sunday. They got him two guys who've been in the league a long time, have him as a guard. They think his arms are too short.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one said he could be an all-pro playing guard, but we'll see what they do. And if the Patriots take Campbell, I'll be fascinated to see how they have to think of he's a left tackle. You have to believe that at 4 if you're doing
right.
That. But anyway.
Right. And I was going to say to Andrew's point here, if they take Genty or somebody else not named Will Howard, then it's sort of not only validates best player available, but also the concern that you would have about him playing tackle.
Yes.
Which teams have that issue.
Yep.
So good stuff there. We are now. I'm sorry, I said Will Howard. I meant Will Campbell. Yeah, playing tackle. So now we're on to the Jaguars. Adam, you'll make the pick. The Jaguars are a team that's now got. They're in transition yet again with the new head coach Liam Cohen, very young GM. So this is kind of an interesting spot for them.
Yeah, the Jags, boy, they flashed. Doug Peterson's first year, they came out of nowhere. And then unfortunately they crashed and burned with that terrible losing streak to close the 23 season, and it carried over last year. So Doug is out. So Liam Cohen's in with James Gladstone, the youngest GM right now in the National Football League. So we'll see what they do here, but their needs right now are corner, D tackle, safety. Now running back, they have them, but remember ETN's contract's up. He had a down year. Edge, they need depth. And receiver, they certainly need another guy. To me, you're kind of taking the best player here. This is just now when you have a new front office and a new coaching staff, they may see players differently. D tackle, it's not a huge need, but for the future, it could be. And Mason Smith was drafted earlier than most people around the league thought. He was a second rounder. Eric Armstead was drafted by Trent Baalke because he knew him from their days with the Niners. He's an older player. The best player on the board here, a position need for the future, to me, is the way that we're going to go here. And that guy is Mason Graham of Michigan, who's more of a three technique. His teammate is more of a nose tackle. So Graham's a more explosive player. We're going to go with Mason Graham from Michigan at number 5 for the Jaguars.
All right, Mason Graham, the big DT. You were going to say something, Andrew?
No, I was just going to say good pick. I had a feeling that's where you were going. Makes a lot of sense.
I just don't know where else to go. Honestly, there's not a corner.
No, not a corner that's going to go. Like Will Johnson is still too high for him, probably.
Too early. Yep. Yeah. I honestly, if you go position by position, it's just not another player. It's got it's this draft, man. This is not a good first round. Depending which team you talk about, they might say they only have 10 first round grades. Some have 12. It's just not a good.
Don't have very many true first round grades.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So that puts us up to the Las Vegas Raiders at 6 overall. I'm going to wind up making that pick. Adam, let's go through some of their needs. And I'm sure under this format, they might be like, damn, the Patriots got Ashton Genty because he would have been a nice fit.
Oh, for Pete Carroll, Mr. Run the Ball. He's an old school run the ball crowd guy.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're a mess at running back. They don't have a starter. Raheem Mostert is near the end of his career. Zamir White has not worked out. That was 2 regimes ago. Our guy, Dylan Lawby, who hopefully will be on the team, is a nice player, but he's more of a third down back or third back. They're a mess at receiver. They don't have a 1. Jacoby Myers is still there. Trey Tucker, who was miscast as a starter, is more of a 4. So they need a receiver, no question about it. They need a corner. They lost Nate Hobbs. They're really light there. Running back, as we mentioned, D tackle, they're light on depth. Edge, they could use another edge, no question about that. They could use another guard and inside backer, Geoff. So they got a lot of needs on both sides of the football.
So I'm making this pick keeping in mind that the Raiders are a very bizarre team at times. And this is
they're not taking a kicker.
No. But again, how much does Mark Sanders, how much does Mark Davis have a say? You're right. They need a quarterback. No, they have Geno, but
they have Geno. But if you look at
the time to an extension, they're not going quarterback.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But again, they're a weird franchise. Now, the one thing we know about John Spytek that a lot of people might not is that he really cut his teeth through the Eagles. That's where he got into scouting. So he's an Andy Reid guy. So my temptation is to say he's going to want to build through the trenches, but I don't know that he does everything and philosophically the way Andy Reid does. But he was at Denver before LA. Remind me where Spytek was, Adam.
Denver. Then I think it was Denver, then Philly, then Tampa. Now Raiders.
The Philly, Denver, then Tampa, right? Because Philly is where I believe he. No, you're right. Denver, Philly, Tampa. So those are not teams that all stylistically are alike. So I wonder how much of the Andy Reid influence is within him. Could they take Campbell here and play him at guard?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's awfully high to take a
I
player.
just think that's hard to take a guard unless they also project him to be maybe a right tackle or play.
It's interesting. I asked these coaches. We didn't really talk about right tackle. We talked about one guy said absolutely could be a Pro Bowl guard for many years, and the other guy said his arms are too short. He just cannot play tackle at this level. Like immediately, the decision would have been made well before the draft if you're taking him. Yeah, it's really hard to sell guard inside. It's interesting because he's clearly has first round grades from every team. That's not the issue.
Right. But he could start for them at right tackle if they felt he was
I would think.
Listen, I was going to go with Ted McMillan, but I just feel like I'm going to go on what I think John Spytek, what his pedigree is, and when he was with Tampa always addresses the offensive and defensive lines high as well. So I'm going to go offensive line here and say that they are going to draft Will Campbell to play right tackle, maybe start off at right guard at first, move to right tackle, but they need help on the O-line, and I'm going to go that he's a line guy.
Best player available. You're taking the best player left on the board at 6. He's the best player. So
that's right.
I have no problem.
All right. And out of LSU. So now we are on to the Jets. Andrew's going to make the pick. It's 7th overall. Adam, let's talk about the Jets' needs.
Yeah, and this is yet another team that has a new regime, new front office, and a new head coach. So they have a receiver need. They need to help out Garrett Wilson on the other side. They certainly need a tight end in a very big way. They need a right tackle, a safety, a D tackle, another corner. They lost DJ Reed in free agency. So to me, Andrew, take whoever you want. They got plenty of needs. Mm-hmm. They did sign Justin Fields, so he's their quarterback for 2 seasons by contract. So that's not going to happen. But they got a lot of needs.
Yeah, I gave Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, some consideration, but I'm going Armand Membo, the tackle from Missouri, to be the right tackle to pair opposite Olo Fashanu.
Cool.
Hey, that's a nice little bookend. That would be so smart that I almost think the Jets won't do it, but they do have a new regime.
Yeah,
right.
And maybe things will get off to a good start for them there. So Armand Membo from Missouri, right tackle.
Got it.
All right. That brings us to the Carolina Panthers. Adam, you are going to make the pick. And this is a team that played a lot of close games last year. I mean, they went through turmoil for the first 5 weeks of the season with their quarterback, brought him back into the mix. We saw Dave Canales do a nice job with Bryce Young, build him up. And then they really started to give teams like the Chiefs and the Eagles a run for their money, but they couldn't close it out. So where are they going to go?
So their needs here, they're not as many as you think. It's just that the quarterback play was so bad until late in the season. But edge, they're terrible at edge. They have to be better corner. Other than Horn, who's a stud who got paid, they need help there. Safety, and they need receiver. This is a very interesting situation because if you really look at the best players on the board, I'll tell you, if Will Campbell dropped here, I'm taking him. For the Panthers, Iggy Iguano has not played well. His 5th-year options do after the draft. So I think you've got to take a look at that. McMillan is a consideration here because you want to help out. But they need edge. Michael Williams. What's that?
Jalen Walker is a player. I guess that would be right around his range.
Yeah, but see, again, where are you playing him? Is he an inside back or an outside back? Or that's
outside. Outside, I would think.
It's funny because I'm staying at Georgia. To me, it's like, okay, tell me, you're looking edges here. It's not a good group this year. It's just not. There's depth later in the draft. Mike Green has got the off the field stuff, which has got to get straightened out. Ezeraku, it's too early for him. Jalen Walker. See, I want to take Walker here. I've kind of bounced back and forth with him. I just need to know how they see him.
I'll tell you why I think it might be a good pick for Walker because of that hybrid ability you're talking about. Ejiro Evero is a blitz guy. He's a top 5 blitz guy, and he's line people up in different spots. So I can absolutely see him using Jalen Walker on the edges as a joker, dropping into coverage, sort of that movable chess piece that not a lot of coaches would do. I always felt like Walker would be a Todd Bowles guy, an Evero guy, like someone who does that, not like a Jim Schwartz guy.
All right, so to sum this up and move on here, I would have gone with Mike Green if I could figure out where teams are yet. I'll know this in the next 48 hours where they're at with his off the field stuff. So can't go with him. Pierce, it's a little bit early, a little bit rich. I like Walker here. I really do. It's who's the best player on the board at a position need for the future. I'm looking at it. It's either Walker or Michael Williams, both teammates. Williams is going to go in the upper half, but I like Walker's positional versatility, so we'll go with him.
Yeah, I think that at the very least we can say it would make sense given the fit of their defensive identity and what their coordinator likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go Jalen Walker, edge / off-ball linebacker out of Georgia to the Carolina Panthers. That brings us now to the New Orleans Saints. And I am going to make the pick. And man, I've been wrestling with this for like weeks on what they're going to do here. Let's first talk about, besides quarterback, Adam, because everybody knows the Derek Carr situation now is not good. What else do they need?
So the Saints, staying in the NFC South, need quarterback, cornerback. Remember, they lost Paulson Adebo. They could certainly need to use another corner, no doubt about it. Kool-Aid McKinstry starting one spot. Alontae Taylor's an excellent nickel. They need another outside corner. Isaac Yiadom is a good backup, but he's not a starter. Edge. Cameron Jordan, he's had an incredible career, potential Hall of Famer. Chase Young did well. They brought him back. Carl Granderson got paid a couple years ago. They got Foskey, who was a second rounder from a couple years ago. They could use another one, but not this early. They need receiver. Unfortunately, they had the big injury to Rashid Shaheed. They did bring in Cooks, Olave, Cedric Wilson's there. They could use one for the future, but they don't need it for this draft. Right guard. Now, here's one that I would look at. Running back. Why do I say running back? Alvin Kamara, who's up there. Kendre Miller has done nothing in his career for the first 2 years. He's been a very big disappointment as a third rounder. Alvin Kamara, when you look at his contract, now they redid it last year. They gave him a lot of guaranteed money for last year. The guaranteed money expires after the season, folks. This is a year, man. If Gentry's there, I'm taking him, but he's already gone.
So I've been wrestling between the DN that I would think fits their scheme, like kind of a true pass rusher like Michael Williams, or going Shedeur here. And I've always felt like Shedeur would best fit in a team that plays inside where the elements aren't as much of an issue. And, twice a year you're playing against Tampa. The weather is going to be nice there. And Atlanta, same thing, inside. And let's face it, he needs a quarterback. And without now, I don't know how much that Kellen Moore really wanted Derek Carr to begin with. He was married to him because of the contract. Now you get an opportunity to start fresh. I'm going to go Shedeur here. I think it makes more sense than the Giants at 3. Maybe there will be a team that trades up into this spot so that New Orleans doesn't do it. But for as long as you need a quarterback and the options aren't great, I'm going to go Shedeur here, and we'll see how it works out for them. If not, it would have been the D end out of Georgia, Michael Williams. So Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado.
I think he's going to fall. To be honest with you, I think he's going to fall into the 20s. We'll see if I'm right about that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like if he doesn't go here, he probably does. But they need a quarterback.
They do. The future, they do. They talk about a team that's stuck in neutral. They can't get out of their own way. They're so mediocre. They're in Mediocresville, unfortunately.
They are. All right. So this brings us to the 10th overall pick. It's going to be the Chicago Bears. Andrew, you will be making this pick. Adam, the Bears have really, I don't know if any team over the last 2 years has made as many moves as the Bears to attempt to at least become competitive. I mean, they've made trades, whether it was Joe Tooney or Keenan Allen 2 years ago. They drafted the top quarterback in the draft last year, and Caleb Williams, at least who they thought was the top quarterback in the draft. Brought in DeAndre Swift in free agency. They brought in Montez Sweat a couple of years ago in a trade. I mean, they've really tried to make this 53 pretty good, but they're still missing some pieces. They
are. Montez Sweat, it's an oak. He's a power rusher. Dio Odingbo came over. He got a big contract. He was okay for the Colts. They can't be done at edge. They need more edge rushers. They need more explosion. They brought in Grady Jarrett, by the way. He's got a pretty significant deal. So they've addressed the D tackle position. Corner, remember Tyreek Stevenson? He got criticized. He got criticized heavily for a couple things. Yep. So that's a position. Corner, receiver. Remember, Keenan Allen's up. Mourner Dunze. Now with Ben Johnson, they're going to play a decent amount of 11 personnel, so they need help there. Mm-hmm. They've addressed their offensive line, but guard for the future is a problem. Joe Tooney's older. I do wonder after he got taken to the woodshed. Now I know he played left tackle against the Eagles, but he was awful. I wonder if the Chiefs said, you know what, maybe he can't be a starter anymore no matter where he plays.
Wow, I'd be surprised if they felt that
well,
way.
They traded him. They didn't want him.
Yeah, but they traded Tyreek Hill. They always have to trade the guy a year before because they're always picking at the bottom of the draft. I think
no, you just said it. No, but you just said
it.
They're trading it year before. They think this is near the end.
Well, I mean, he's 32, right?
Yeah, he turns 33 in November, and guys don't play a lot in their 30s. He's been through a lot. Boy. Anyway, yeah. So you're right. To sum this up, the Bears have addressed a lot of needs. There's no question about it.
Right.
Yeah, I gave Will Johnson some consideration here, the cornerback from Michigan, but I'm going to go with Mykel Williams from Georgia. I like his positional versatility and his size. He had the injury last year, which took away from his production. That's a good player.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the edge is really what they need. Of all the things they need, that is absolutely good. All right. Good. So real quick roundup of the top 10. CamWard to the Titans. Travis Hunter to the Browns. Abdul Carter to the Giants. Ashton Genty to the Patriots, Mason Graham to the Jaguars at 5th overall, Will Campbell to the Raiders, Armand Membu to the Jets, Jalen Walker to the Panthers, Shedeur Sanders to the Saints, and at 10th overall, we get Mykel Williams from Georgia, the edge rusher, to the Chicago Bears, and that is our top 10. Before we get on to 11th with the 49ers, a reminder, today is the day that our friends at Stretch Zone open a new location in Warrington, PA, 1527B Main Street, Warrington, near the Wegmans and Home Depot, right off 611 on Street Road. You can go to stretchzone.com to sign up for your free 30-minute stretch, or call your nearest location, leave a message, go in directly. And as Adam, as you always say, they got that great system-wide access. Doesn't matter what stretch zone you go into, they got your info. They'll take you. They'll know what to do. What a fantastic luxury that is.
I'll be there today. I'll be there for Big Tennis today. So, yeah, stretchzone.com, get your free 30-minute stretch.
Oh, I thought you were signing autographs, so I thought we were going to tell people.
I should, yeah, as much as we talk about, right? Sure.
All right, now on to the 49ers at 11th overall. Man, we're talking about a team that has really fallen from grace since appearing in the Super Bowl just 2 seasons ago, and they have suffered a lot of departures and losses in free agency. They got old pretty quickly, Adam. So when I ask you what the Niners need, the list can be pretty long here.
D tackle, edge, outside backer, corner, and receiver. So they traded Ayuk. I mean, they didn't trade Ayuk. He was available, but they didn't trade him. They traded Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk's coming back to an ACL, so that receivers clearly need. But to me, this is where teams really would love to trade out. I'm not saying specifically the Niners, but this is where you're almost out of first-round grades, guys. This is kind of where we are in this draft, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I like Jahdae Barron, Mike Green, depending on where they land on him with the off the field.
I think this is a pretty good spot for a lineman for them. I mean, they lost. They've got Trent Williams who's hurt. They lost Jaden. Who was the guy who went to the Chiefs to play left tackle for them?
Jalen Moore. Right, yeah, and Aaron Banks. Yeah, no, you're right.
Trent Williams, but I wonder if they can. If there's a tackle that they can draft who would eventually replace him. What do you think, Adam? You're making the pick.
Yeah, I would. Guard something that they could look at. Left guard, the eventual replacement for Trent Williams, who's in his late 30s now. They lost Shavarius Ward in free agency. They brought in Trey Brown, formerly of Seattle, but I know they like Renardo Green. He actually did very well.
Mm-hmm.
This is another situation where you're just going to take the best player available at a position of need for the future. The board has been hit very, very hard. I'm looking at a lot of players here. Now, understand something, that they lost also Javon Hargrave. They made a decision that he wasn't going to come back. Their weakest position by far is defensive tackle. They can't line up right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take Walter Nolan here. Now, I know there's some off the field stuff with him that people have mentioned or talked about out there. You and I have checked into this. It's nothing. There's nothing criminal, nothing like that. He's never been in trouble. The stuff we're told that it's something he knows he's got to take care of. Nothing bad. And I don't. Walter Nolan's like one of the 5 or 7 best players for this draft. It just in scouting, everybody loves him. It's like if you're not a draftnik, as they say, you don't talk about him as much. But this is by far their biggest need. He's a stud player, and we're going to go with Walter Nolan here for the Niners. Great pick, by the way. He'll start right away.
It's a great pick also because they run a wide nine. If I think I've always felt Walter Nolan would fit really well in a spread out, get up the field, get the quarterback. He's not the biggest guy in the world, so he may not be great for a scheme, sort of like the Eagles where you have to play some 4-eye and you have to like play gap and a half. I think this guy, you just want him shooting up the field. And that's what they do with what's the guy's name? Chris Kuceric, right, Adam?
Chris Kuceric, yeah, he's a wide nine. He's Jim Schwartz's guy, yeah. By the way, the Mississippi one, the D tackles got upfield. It's funny you say that because that's the kind of system they ran this past season.
I mean, talk about a perfect marriage of what you do philosophically, your scheme, and the player.
Yep.
So Walter Nolan, I love it. In fact, when I was doing my own, that's where I thought he would go. The highest he would thought. The first team I thought would be San Francisco. Cleveland also runs wide nine or Jim, but he wasn't going to go second overall. But yeah. All right. So we are on to the Dallas Cowboys, 12th overall. They can go a million ways here. I'll be making the pick. Adam, you can talk to us about the needs.
And remember, they've lost over a number of years. Travis Frederick to retirement. They've Jack Martin to retirement. They've gone through a lot. I mean, Tyler Smith has worked out at left guard, but no one thought he could play guard really. And the Cowboys tried him there, and it worked out. So they need a right guard. They really need to figure out running back for the future because Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are on short-term deals. So they need to figure that out. Mm-hmm. D tackle, they need another guy. They need another edge rusher. They lost to Marcus Lawrence. Receiver, they're light. Overshown, another major injury at middle linebacker. They could use that. OLB, and they could use another corner. So there you go. Both sides of the football, they need help.
Yeah, they really could use a playmaker too. I mean,
Matthew Golden, you see that kind of speed with Matthew Golden from Texas.
Yeah,
seems like something Jerry Jones would be infatuated with.
Ted McMillan's still out there, right?
I was going to say, Andrew, I agree with you, and I was thinking wide receiver here. But the guy who I think would be a really good pick for them, was also from Texas, is Kelvin Benjamin. You can play him at left tackle, and then you can move.
Kelvin Banks.
Kelvin Banks, right? You can play him at left tackle, move Guyton to right tackle while he still works himself out. I mean, he needs a lot more refinement, and then you've really helped your offensive line out a lot because Banks is so good, so experienced, good athlete. Yeah. But they are in such a desperate.
Terrence Steele's the right tackle. That's just so you know, Terrence Steele's.
Yeah, but Terrence Steele. My point is, Terrence Steele is not very good, and he's replaceable.
Okay.
Yeah. He's okay. He's an average starter.
Yeah, I mean, they like him well enough. They're into his. Let's put it this way: his base salary is fully guaranteed this season. They can get out of it after this season.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah. No, that's why I said that would be my pick for them, just to build that offensive line for the future, because that's when they were at their best. But they need a playmaker, and they really need somebody who can line up at the X, because CeeDee Lamb we know is more of a Z and the guy that they move around. So I'm going to give him Ted McMillan here. I think he just slides right in and gives them a diamond. I thought about Omari and Hampton as well because they need a running back, but I don't think they're going to do that here. I think Ted McMillan would be the guy.
He's the best player on the board. I mean, I like your point about Banks. I mean, he's one of the top tackles for this draft. You just would have to figure out how you would handle it if you went there. So there you go. Interesting pick.
All right. So got a few picks left as we finish the first part of the first round. We go on to the Miami Dolphins, and Andrew will be making the pick. What do the Dolphins need besides, new culture, a little bit of youth, getting some protection for their quarterback who's always getting hurt? I mean, they need literally a lot of things, pretty much anything. Adam, what do you see as their chief needs for the Dolphins?
Dolphins, what they have to do is once and for all build a quality offensive line. That's where Chris Grier has really failed. He's drafted some decent linemen. They're just not good enough there. So they need a guard. They lost Wilkins last year. They need D tackles. Certainly, Javon Holland, they lost him at safety. Inside backer, edge. Remember, they got one guy who's Bradley Chubb. Unfortunately, just bad luck with injury, and then corner. So they've played. Jalen Ramsey. Remember, they're trying to move him, so they need a corner.
For that reason, I'm going Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan. Well, I like his game quite a bit. That's going to be a good fit for their defense.
All right. Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan. Man, they're going to pass on Kelvin Banks here when they need a left tackle. Teron Armstead retires, but I guess that would be consistent with Miami because as badly as they need offensive linemen, they don't seem to always address it when they should.
Well,
So
they'll go with Patrick Paul, who was drafted last year at left tackle, but man, it's a lot of patchwork. The only thing about Will Johnson is he's a zone corner, and that's that we'll see what how they see that. Look, he's really good, no question. But you know what?
Well, Anthony Weaver is a pretty zone heavy guy, if I'm not mistaken, right? He comes out of the Ravens chain, and they play a ton of zone as well.
Yeah, you can get away with it. He's just a really good football player, and it's certainly a major position of need.
Absolutely. All right. We are up to the Indianapolis Colts 14th overall. Adam, you'll be making the pick, and tell us what they need.
So the Colts, we know they have 80 tight ends, but they don't have a starter. So I mean, it's just they've just not gotten it right at tight end. They've tried everything. Jelani Woods has been hurt every year. Mo Alley-Cox is a Y. Good story, but they have Ogletree, Will Mallory was drafted 2 years ago. Albert O's there. Again, too many tight ends, but not a starter. So that tight ends, it's not about how many players you have. It's about who's the guy. They don't have a guy, so they need a guy. Remember, at center, they lost Ryan Kelly. Bortolini was drafted last year. They're going to try him there. Goncalves probably going to be the right guard. Braden Smith is going to play this year. He's getting through his situation. Bernard Ryman's okay. Quentin Nelson's obviously a stud. They need more linemen, interior linemen. I mentioned tight end corner. The issue at corner is this. It's real simple. They changed schemes now. They're not running a heavy zone scheme anymore. Lou Anarumo comes over, takes over for Gus Bradley, who was Mr. Zone. So they may look at corner. They did bring Shavarius Ward, but Juju Brents, who was a second rounder 2 years ago, has not been healthy. So corner's still a need. And safety is a need. So I'll tell you what, they got to get it right. Take the best player available. That's Warren, the tight end from Penn State. He's the best player at a position of need for the future.
He is.
All right, there we go. Tyler Warren off the board. Tight end Penn State. It'll be interesting to see him. He's used to performing in Indianapolis, so that's good for him. And that will take us to the Atlanta Falcons, 15th overall. This is a team, Adam, obviously they made the move to Michael Penix last year. They lost their center, I believe, in free agency. Gallman, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They parted ways with Grady Jarrett. They've always needed edge rushers, so we know they need that. What are some other areas that they can
You got it. I mean, honestly, center, edge, corner, D tackle, you met with the loss there, safety and receiver depth, but obviously you're not taking a center here. Edge, man. Edge, they've needed edges for years. They just have not gotten. Terry Fontenot, the GM, he's just got to find. There's a real good one there. This is around where the guy would go, but it's your call.
Yeah, no, I was thinking edge the whole time. They obviously have to be comfortable with this guy based on the off-field things but I can't think. And honestly, they're probably pretty upset with our mock draft because I'm sure that they would love to get their hands on one of the two Georgia guys that's been in their backyard for a couple of years that they probably seen well, but they can't. So Mike Green is, when you compare all the pass rushers, even the two that have taken, probably the most technically sound, most savvy, most ready to go in, be seasoned, have a plan. Kind of like we said last year, right around this time about Leatu Latu, obviously the guy who's most ready to go in and show you that he has natural pass rush moves. So the Falcons need a pass rusher, and in our draft, they're going with Mike Green out of Marshall on the edge.
There you go. He'll start day one. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That will bring us to the Arizona Cardinals. Andrew will be making the pick at 16th overall. What do they need, Adam?
They think they have enough edges, but what they won't tell you is that they're not good enough. They need explosive edge rushers. And Jonathan Gannon-Salt in 22, when they had, was it 70 sacks at Eagles? Was it 70?
70 or 72, something like that.
Yeah, yes. So you need a rotation. They certainly need an edge receiver. They're too light. Yes, they drafted one last year, but they're not good enough there. Inside backer. This is another team that's not gotten it right in like 20 years in their offensive line. They're never good there. And corner for sure. And that's what they need.
This is where I'm going Kelvin Banks from Texas.
You're going to play him where? Because they have Paris Johnson from their first round pick.
Right tackle.
You're playing
Jonah Williams is there. Yeah, Jonah Williams is the right tackle.
I'll
say this.
I don't think Banks can play guard, but they need to get another.
Well, it's funny. I asked an offensive line coach. He said, "Listen, I wouldn't do it. I know people are going to knock the. I mean, his arm length is okay. It's over 34. I know he's not the tallest guy. Now, you mentioned we mentioned Jonah Williams as the right tackle. So let's just say they took the best player who's on the board here at Banks. I wouldn't argue against that. He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Williams, by the way, here you go. Jonah Williams is on the final year of his deal. Okay, he's owed $13 million in cash. The contract's up after the season. There you go. There you go. Now, of course, if they do this, Jonah Williams is probably going to be traded during the draft. You know?
Right. And the other player I consider was Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. They need a playmaker, but they also need sustained, offensive line play, and that gives them a high-end player.
Like it.
Has Jonah Williams ever played guard, Adam? Does he?
No. In fact, remember he was asked to move to right tackle with the Bengals, and he was mad. He got all upset about it. Then he wound up playing right tackle for the Cardinals. So he's an okay player, but that's it. I mean, when you look at the top 16, honestly, a couple of years we did this. I was like, oh man, maybe we took this guy too early. No, it's not a good first round. We're taking guys who should go in the upper half. Right. I don't see any reaches here.
Trying to go with the best philosophies for what we know about these coaches, these GMs, these teams, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So to recap, we'll go back to forward, and then the next episode we'll do 17 to 32. 16 was the Cardinals taking Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas. 15, the Falcons took Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. 14 was the Colts taking Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end. 13 was the Miami Dolphins taking Will Johnson, the Michigan cornerback. The Cowboys at 12 take Tet McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. The Niners at 11 take our friend Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Missouri. The Bears at 10th overall take Michael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia. At 9, the Saints take Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback for Colorado. At 8, the Panthers take Jalen Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia. At 7, the Jets go with Armand Membo, the right tackle out of Missouri. And at 6, the Las Vegas Raiders take Will Campbell, offensive tackle, perhaps guard, out of LSU. And then the Jaguars to round out the top 5. Jaguars, Mason Graham out of Michigan, defensive tackle. New England Patriots will take Ashton Jeanty, 4th overall, the running back out of Boise State. The Giants go with Abdul Carter, the Penn State edge. The Browns go with Travis Hunter, the multi-dimensional wide receiver, cornerback, wide receiver out of Colorado. And the Titans take CamWard, quarterback out of Miami. That is 1 through 16 of our first round NFL mock draft. On the next episode, we'll hit you with 17 to 32 and finish it out. For Andrew DiCecco and Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. Thanks for watching Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.